Tell your friends! Tell your friends about Hooks and Ladders, but also about songstudio.ca. You can get all kinds of information about songwriting, tips, and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, like, follow, and subscribe. That's what we need. That's what you need.
Follow up on that and your cerebral comment.
Yes.
What if that's who you are?
Exactly.
And so, for example, my
Sure.
daughter loves to listen to a band, and they use words like thrombosis, and she goes, "That's awesome. They're using concepts I've never heard of." And
Thrombosis. Yeah, it's nice to hear the brass instruments get some. Yeah. Thrombosis. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you balance that as a performer?
Yeah.
Knowing that there's some people that want to hear this.
Yeah. So if you intentionally try to dumb it down, okay, remember what I said about the honest part? You're being dishonest. You're not going to get to something that's vibrating with you that you go, I'm proud of this. I can stand behind this. That's another whole part of it. Because whenever you finish a new song, and I'm sure a number of you have had this experience, you're torn between, this is the greatest thing I've ever come up with, and what an absolute piece of shit,
Yeah.
right? There's somewhere those two things vacillate back and forth until finally someone else tells you, honestly, doesn't have to be actually a family member's not a bad way to go.
I was going to say, your brother is
They
a hard
can be
marker.
blunt. Yeah, he's a hard marker.
Yeah.
They can be blunt and honest and tell you, this sucks. Like it's not a terrible thing to happen.
Yeah.
So yes, if that's who you are, absolutely keep going that way. And that brings me to, I think, my overriding statement of everything entirely. And I know it's not what this is an endeavor where we're all trying to write better songs. However, younger, really young people who will ask quite often some kind of advice, right? If they're just getting into me, can you give me some advice? First of all, I hate giving advice. I can only give you my story, right? And my advice is, I keep saying, you have to understand, I came up in a musical paradigm, as far as the structure of the music business goes, that's completely, almost entirely washed away, let's put it that way. Certain basic elements of it exist, but they're in a different form now, to where I want to ask you what I should be doing that's smarter, because they've usually got way more, their hands on the tools in a much more effective way than I do. So there's that. But I do say this. Music is its own reward. Songwriting is its own reward. If you write that song that no one else can relate to, there was a reason you wrote it. It might be just that it's on the conveyor belt. This is another friend of mine years ago used to say this, that on the conveyor belt, you have to assemble this one before you can assemble that one up there that's the hit. The hit's up the road, but you have to assemble this one to kind of get it out of the way and get yourself, get it, almost like getting it out of your system. It reminds me of the, again, my references are going to go way back. So I'm going to say there was an old I Love Lucy episode where she's trying to put together these things on the conveyor belt and she screws it up and screws it up. But meanwhile, the chocolate thing.
Yeah.
And songs are, again, kind of like that. You almost owe it. I'm going to say something that I don't take my own advice on enough, because that phone is full of half-baked ideas.
Yeah.
Try to finish it. Try to finish it almost no matter what. I wish that's advice I could take to heart myself, because as I say, I'll start scrolling through my phone. It's like, oh God damn, you're like 200 things you haven't brought to any fruition other than this one little notion. But I'm going to move on to a different subject here. Those little fragments, though, I did find a great way of utilizing them once I joined the band that I'm in now, because a lot of the songs are co-writes, almost all of them are co-writes, where there's sometimes 2, 3, 4 different writers on one song. That's where the fragments actually have helped me a great deal, because we'll be in the middle of something and I got nothing. And then I'll suddenly be listening to what they've got, and I'd go to my phone and just start scrolling, and then suddenly an idea that's just been floating on there, in the cloud, well, I can suddenly integrate it into something they're doing. And that's, I know, a different subject, but basically writing with other people opened up all kinds of things that I never knew existed in the past. Like, for example, you finish a song and go, there's no way I could have done that myself, nor could the other person or people have done it themselves. It's a group think that, in a creative friction environment, came up with something that none of us could have come up with individually. That's actually, I have to say, it's kind of just as rewarding. Would you find that?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's rewarding in different ways.
Yeah.
But and it's also instructive in different ways.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for writing something completely by yourself, but definitely something to be said with collaborating with other people. They bring other stuff to the table that you never would have thought of.
Absolutely.
And they also can perform the role that your brother performed for you. They can cut through the crap. If you play something and you say, "How about this?" and they go, yeah, well, like it ends up.
That's usually my reaction to everything at first. Yeah, well.
Yeah, but that if they don't go, you know what? Yeah, okay, let's go with that, and then that can feel really great. But it doesn't necessarily have to feel terrible when they don't react, really warmly to something.
Definitely
because
not.
you're just in this working relationship,
Yeah.
And so it can be. It doesn't have to be ego battering. It doesn't have to be. It can be a beautiful experience, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's all of that. But music it's a heightened state of there's a lot of emotion goes on.
Yeah.
It's an emotional thing. And when somebody says that, they won't never say, I don't like that. But basically that the idea will kind of drift away really quickly if they didn't respond to it.
We won't talk about that.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, have any of you co-written songs in the past with others? Yeah. You've all done it?
Well, we used to have so everyone here except Nana, sorry to center you out, but everybody here has been here with us before in one form or another. And I don't mean they've changed form, but I mean we've done the workshop online.
Right.
And so everybody has had the experience of co-writing with people, and in most cases, I'd say it's been a positive experience. Although we've heard of later about experiences that were challenging, but that's part of it as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I change subject or go back? I want to go back because I want to go a little deeper on something you said, and that is the idea of sticking with it until you reach the level of truth.
Yeah.
I think that's really true and really important because there are the surface reasons for wanting to write a song. In my case, it's like, I haven't written a song in a long time, and I beat myself up, and I think I better write a song. And then I think, I'd like to write a song where I can imagine playing it for people. These are all surfacey sort of reasons. And,
that's right.
And I do find that if most of the time I don't stick with it. Most of the time I think, I've got to get ready for SongStudio next week or whatever. But when I do stick with it, that level of truth that you describe is absolutely a thing that happens.
It is.
And it's why I would argue that writer's block doesn't exist in a way. For me, writer's block has been a convenient excuse. Because I find that if I sit, and I want to ask if it works similarly for you, but if I sit with something long enough and I work at it and push, I might be writing a shitty song, but I might also reach that point where I'm starting to write something meaningful to me, and it's truthful to me. Yeah. So when students ask me about writer's block, I could tell you right now I'm blocked, but I don't feel that it's actually a real thing, and I actually feel superstitious about acknowledging it. If I say writer's block is a real thing and I have it, I feel like I'm surrendering in a sense. So
okay, but everyone gets stuck.
Stuck is a different thing.
Stuck's a different thing.
Yeah.
And when you're stuck, you're going to discover something. Yeah. Something's going to happen that will unstick you. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But it's not. I don't think it's a bad thing to look for outside methods of breaking that. So one for me is read a good book. Sometimes if I've just got a good book going, I don't have to write about what's in the book, but just that starts things. It's like putting some oil in the wheels. They stop, they start going around a little more, a little quicker. Another one for me is I go for a ride on my bike. It's just weird, but I mean, you do something that gets your brain kind of thinking of something, that wouldn't occur if you just stay locked. You see, I'm contradicting myself, because staying locked in the room helps a great deal as well, because sometimes boredom, actually, that's where it's really useful. The writer's block, if it gets to the point of agonizing boredom, you'll probably come up with something.
Yeah, that's true. But it's getting your brain into a different state.
Because that's where your brain will go. I want to be entertained.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out some way of doing it. Okay. I'm going to get slightly too broad here, but I think pretty much everyone in this room. Remember what summers used to be like for us, where by mid-August you were bored, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually around that time that you discovered something, whatever the hell it was. If it was just watching ants build their house, not your ants, but like little ants on the ground. But you know what I mean, like. There'd be some goofy thing that would kick in and spark your imagination, because we absolutely have to find, for me, it would be something like, I'd go down to the creek and you could get into the manholes, and I'd go walking through the manholes of Scarborough, and that was like, wow, it smells horrible in here, but I love it, just because it was out of boredom. And one of the discussions I would have with my wife when our kids were small and all their friends, it was, man, we dictate the activity, right? Their minds are they're moving at a completely different pace than ours used to. And I thought, give them a chance to get bored. Let them if the boredom actually sparks creativity in a lot of ways. It makes you want to amuse yourself. And if you finish a day and have finished a song, I know everyone here, don't you definitely feel this sense of accomplishment, like that was a good day. So that to me is a great reason to write songs. That's back to the advice thing about music is its own reward. That's just a great day where I go, wow, I didn't just blow the whole day watching
Ants.
Ants.
That's a great example.
It's just something really dumb, but instead I came up with this piece of music. I hope other people like it. That's a big part of it.